It's Today in History. It's John Beaudin. Welcome to Rock History Book. Every single day we come on here and try to find out what the heck happened in rock and roll history. If it's your birthday, August 27th, hey, congratulations. Happy birthday to you. You made it another year. A lot of things happen on your birthday. If this is not your birthday, but hey, you might know someone whose birthday is August 27th. Make sure you share this video on their timeline. And we'll take some questions for you in just a second. If you want to support the channel, there are links at the very top where you can help us continue Rock History Book today in rock history. But again, so much happened. About to be dumped by the record company. They wanted a more commercial album, but instead this band said, no, we're going to continue going down this route. If we're going to go down, we're going to go down big. And they recorded a masterpiece which set the groundwork for the rest of their albums. We're going to get around to that in just a second. Birthdays today, Daryl Dragon. The late Daryl Dragon was born on this day. Captain Antonio, the keyboard player. We lost Brian Epstein, the man who believed in the Beatles more than the Beatles did, I think. Also, Stevie Ray Vaughan passed away on this day in history. Jimi Hendrix recorded his last song on this day in history. So are you ready to roll? Let's do it. 1937, Phil Shulman, I interviewed his brother, Derek Shulman of Gentle Giant, is born in Glasgow, Scotland. Happy birthday to him. It's nice that we still have, I think the whole band might be still around. In 1939, Edward Patton, American soul singer for Gladys Knight and the Pips. What a band that was, huh? Born in Atlanta, Georgia. He died in 2005. As we mentioned, 1942, Daryl Dragon, American keyboardist for Captain Antonio. Love Will Keep Us Together. And recorded a lot of hits. I was a big Captain Antonio fan. I just reached out to Tony Tennille. I know they're divorced. Maybe 3-4 days ago, she's doing a revival of Hello Dolly. I'm not sure where it's going to be presented, but it starts, I think, in October. And I'd like to get an interview with her. Someone said she wasn't doing well. Then I saw her practicing with these people. I went, wait a minute. She's doing okay. Anyway, Daryl Dragon passed away in 2019. So we tip our hat, because he did wear a hat, to him. In 1942, Chip Douglas Haddlelid, American songwriter, arranger, bassist for the Turtles, Happy Together, and a record producer for the Monkees, born in San Francisco, California. More birthdays, lots of birthdays today. 1944, Tim Bogert, we lost him at 76 years old, January of 2021. He was born on this day, American bassist for Vanilla Fudge, Jeff Beck, born in New York City. New York City? What the? And dun da da da, there's the man. 1953, Alex Lifeson, guitarist for Rush, born in Fernie. I've been there many times. Why can't I say it? Fernie, British Columbia, Canada. Serbian immigrant parents. He was raised in Toronto, Ontario. One of the kings of the guitar. And when I was looking up, I always look up for interesting facts, things that, you might want to go to you might want to go to the lunchroom and share with your friends. That's the interesting stuff on this channel. He formed Rush with drummer John Rutsey, or an early version, and guitarist Jeff Jones, who was, this in 1968, Jones was replaced by Geddy Lee, and Jones is the guy in the middle there, a little reunion they had. Well, that's kind of nice. After their third album, Caress of Steel, kind of lagged as far as sales. Anthem Records were worried about their little band. They thought they would basically get rid of them and say, well, we're not making money on this. Caress of Steel, even attendance went down at concerts. And they thought, well, let me just move this because I got a big 2112 covering me up here. And they said, go more commercial. They went back into the studio and they thought to themselves, if we're going to go down, let's go down big. Let's continue. Let's maintain our integrity. This is what we do. This is the direction we were going in anyway. So if we get dropped, we get dropped. And they went in and recorded this, like literally, it was spacey themed album, which was like bigger than anything they had done, more experimental than anything they had done. They took a giant leap, which led to all the other albums, 2112. And it ended up selling better than the 3 previous albums. So they maintained that. And the band Rush are known for their integrity. They've been together, for so many years. We lost Neil Peart a few years ago, but I mean, you got to love that story. And it's not the anniversary of 2112 or anything like that. But when I was looking for something to talk about concerning Alex Lifeson, man, where do you start with this guy? But I thought, no, let's do that. And I looked up an interesting article on his 3 favorite guitar solos, his own guitar solos from Rush. Let's do this. Limelight from one of my favorite Rush albums, which is Moving Pictures, 1981. Alex said, I love the elasticity of the solo. It's a very emotional piece of music to play. The song is about loneliness and isolation, and I think the solo reflects that. There's a lot of heart in it. That's the first one. His second favorite would be Kid Gloves from Grace Under Pressure, 1984. He said, what I like about the solo is it's the opposite to Limelight. It's got hip kind of a slinky attitude, a little goofy humor. And the third one that he really likes is Free Will, another one of my favorite albums, Permanent Waves, 1980. Alex says, it's a really hard solo to play. This is interesting. I think I feel a certain amount of pride in the fact alone. Every time I play it, I'm amazed I got through it. It's so frenetic and exciting. I ask, and from my other channel, I interview people almost every single day. And one of the questions I like asking, well, I do this a lot. One of the questions I ask is, well, what was the hardest one, the most challenging? And most musicians will always say, well, I don't know, it was not so challenging. It's my guitar. I invented it. I invented the solo. And I always think, come on, there must have been a hard piece. And there you go, Alex being the coolest guy in the universe again and just telling it like it is. And there he is. Alex Lifeson is 69 years old today. One badass guitarist, one of the nicest guys, a guy who appreciates humor. And him and Neil Peart and Geddy Lee created something, even the first album with John Rutsey was amazing. But they created a patchwork for so many other bands doing the old, what happens if I press this? What happens if I go in that direction? What happens if I follow my gut and don't think about sales and try to do something brilliant and push my boundaries? As he said with the guitar solos, right? Free will. I love the man. I got to say, I love the man. Anyway, happy birthday to him. And I'm glad he's still around. Born in 1956, Glenn Matlock, British punk bassist. We know him from the Sex Pistols. Born in London. Happy birthday to him. What do we got? Oh, nope. 1968, Eric Bobo Correa, American percussionist, Beastie Boys, Cypress Hill. Born in Queens, New York. And here he is. Tony Kanal, Indian-American bassist for No Doubt. Don't Speak. As I mentioned yesterday, I think No Doubt's a good band. I just can't stand Gwen Stefani's voice. Drives me crazy. In fact, yesterday it was Tony's colleague, his No Doubt colleague had a birthday yesterday. Drummer Adrian Young. So they were born one day after another. I'm not sure, probably not the same year, but I don't have that information here. It's the way it goes. In 1986, R&B singer Mario is born, Mario DeWare Barrett in Baltimore, Maryland. We're doing more. Brian Epstein, English music entrepreneur, the man who believed in the Beatles more than George Michael. He kept, George Martin rather, George Michael. What the kind of show is this? He was the guy who would come up to other promoters and say, this is the one. This is the band, no matter what. I'm paraphrasing him, of course, but he would say in 100 years or whatever he said, they'll still be playing this band. Trust me on this. It probably had that fervor in his eyes, where people believed what he was saying. So he died of an accidental overdose in 1967. What would have happened or not happened without Brian Epstein, eh? There you go. May he rest in peace. In 1990, speaking of big things that happened, Stevie Ray Vaughan, American blues musician, dies in a helicopter crash. He was only 35. He always looked more than 35 years old, but he was a, rough and tumble kind of, he had that kind of look. It was part of the persona. An amazing guitarist. We could have done a whole video on him alone, of course. Stevie Ray Vaughan. In 1991, Vince Taylor, British rock and roll singer from Brand New Cadillac. Remember Brand New Cadillac? Dies of lung cancer at 52. Got a lot of people on here, so we're going to get to you in a second. Hey, who does that guy look like? Does he not look like a member of Toto? Because he's the father of a member of Toto. Marty Paich, American jazz piano player, arranger, played with Streisand. Oh, I don't want to sneeze. Barbara Streisand, Frank Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, Aretha Franklin. Michael Jackson dies of colon cancer at the age of 70. What a musical genius he is. And his son is one of my favorite interviews. 1995, Big D. Irwin dies of heart failure in Las Vegas. He was 63 years old. A Canadian one, Douglas Riley from Dr. Music, Canadian musician, musical director of Famous People Players, dies of a heart attack at the age of 62. May he rest in peace. Now we're up to songs and albums. Busy day, huh? Lots going on. Like I said, if you know someone whose birthday is today, August 27th, put this on their timeline. And by the way, happy birthday to everyone who's celebrating today. 1955, Fats Domino, Ain't That a Shame? What a great song. Happy song. And back then there were a lot, coming out after, that would have been 10 years after World War II, because that ended in 45. People were releasing happy-go-lucky songs for decades after that, right? Hit number 10 in the U.S. charts. Good for him. And we lost him a little while ago, too. In 1964, oh my God, look at that face. Disney releases Mary Poppins. A Sherman Brothers musical featuring Julia Andrews and Dick Van Dyke. Oh, I was so in love with that woman, but so was everyone else. In 1966, the Association released Cherish. I love those vocal bands. The Letterman, the Association. 1988, 20-year-old Kylie Minogue becomes the youngest female artist to land a number one spot in the UK charts with Kylie. That was an album named Kylie. Let me move this up a little bit so we got more stuff. It never ends. There she is, and I loved her debut album. 1988, Tracy Chapman's self-titled debut album reaches number one in the U.S. as her song Fast Car peaked at number 6. Someone asked me yesterday, take a long time to get all these pictures? Yeah, it takes a long time, but I like to do it right. Why not? You want to see the picture of the person, right? I can just read off a whole bunch of stuff for you, but why not revisit album covers like this? 1996, Pearl Jam released their 4th album, No Code, which debuts at number 1 in the U.S. charts. Now, we're up to events, stuff that happens, events on the charts. Here's a good one. Oh, my thing stopped working. I just talked about pictures and the pictures stopped working. 1965, the Beatles spend an evening at Elvis Presley's home in Los Angeles, California. They said it was a little odd. In 1970, the second day of Isle of Wight Festival, with a very young Supertramp, not the Supertramp that would record Crime of the Centuries, though Roger Hodgson and Rick Davies were in the band, the two singers. And in 1970, Jimi Hendrix creates the last studio recording ever at Electric Ladyland Studios in New York, the instrumental called Slow Blues. Ta-da! There you have it. One of my colleagues yesterday says, why would you do Today in History live on YouTube with all these buttons you have to press? I'm going, well, it's kind of like being in radio in the old days. In the old days, radio was, you'd have 3 turntables. The last turntable at the end was the just-in-case turntable. You never used that one. But if something happened to the other 2, you'd have a spare song at the end. And usually a long song, like American Pie or something, or Stairway to Heaven, that you could have enough time to try to fix what's going on with the first 2 turntables. You had these 8-track looking things called carts. And we were juggling all the time, just going like this, and I miss those days. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot easier now because basically I record my show in Vancouver at Move 103 with a space bar, basically. I keep pressing the space bar. You press the space bar once, it starts the element, which is usually the end of a song. So you get a feel for it, and you know if you want to talk fast or slow. You press the same space bar again, it starts the microphone, it opens the mic. You press it one more time, it starts the next element that you're going into. And then you press it again to stop the whole thing. If you like it, you keep it. I'm usually a one-take guy because I've been doing this for 40 years. But that's how radio works now. So I'm not complaining. It's kind of a neat way to record a show. And I'm not in Vancouver. I'm on the other side of the country in the East Coast. And we moved here for a year. So that's kind of how it goes. So yeah, I like the new system, but I also doesn't mean I don't miss the old system of multitasking, and it's good for my 62-year-old brain to do all this stuff. So Shannon does the research, and then I get the pictures together, and I want to tell a story, and that's what YouTube's about. Going back and saying, wow, my birthday is August 27th. What the hell happened in music? If you're big in music, that's why I always say every day, I remind everyone, if it's your birthday, check this out. If it's not, you're going to be interested in what happens every single day because it's kind of cool. And if you know someone who's born on August 27th, share it with them. Melody, oh, you're a sweet lady. Thank you. You never let me down. 2112 is one of my favorites. You know what? People listen to 2112 back in the old days, and some of these people obviously were not fans of a Rush or that kind of music. But it was so brilliant. I mean, there's times where, Geddy Lee goes from, there's acoustic guitar and he's just singing quietly. Then he goes, he does that high voice. Like that high Rush voice on 2112. And there's something magical about that album, the hills and valleys, and him literally speaking about space, right? Chris says, it's funny because at least 3 songs on side 2 of 2112 could have been hits. Lessons, Tears. You know what? You're not the first, and something for nothing. You're not the first to say that, but I'd never really looked at it that way. But you're not the first to say that. Melody R, happy birthday, Alex. JD, is this live? Yeah, it's live. That's why. Renoir, hi there. Mary Poppins, first film I ever saw. Really? Man, when I would see her on TV, Julie Andrews, and I would lose it. It was like a Marsha Brady moment, Maureen McCormick moment, of Susan Day, of the Partridge Family, where I would just look at that. And back then, when your raging hormones are going nuts and you're growing up in the 70s, you get transfixed by it. But you know what? She was one of my all-time favorite crushes, Julie Andrews, and she's still beautiful. There you go. Thanks for joining me. We're not going to stop doing these now because most of the time we get at least 1,000 hits, and you're probably thinking 1,000 hits for all the work. It is an insane amount of work for 1,000 hits, but like I said, I like doing it. So I told myself if we'd start getting 1,000 hits for most of them, which, would give us a couple of $1,000 extra a month. And that's all it is. That's a lot of work for a couple of thousand, but that's what we'll make on it. So there you go. Thank you for everyone who came on today on your weekend to spend some time with me and spend some time with these great stories of rock and roll, the stuff that we all grew up with. Like I said a while ago, I'm 62, and all this stuff is relevant to me. We don't pick everything that's applicable for this date, but I try to pick the stuff that I think you'd be interested in. And even though 2112 is not the anniversary or anything about its release, it's the coolest story that I thought I'd share concerning Alex Lifeson's birthday. That these guys stuck to their guns and decided, we're just going to do this. If we're going to go out, we're going to go out doing the type of music that we want to do. And could Rush have done real poppy stuff? I think so. They didn't want to. It wasn't them. It's kind of like dating someone who the world thinks is beautiful, but you don't think is beautiful. Don't you say that sometimes when you watch TV, saying, well, she's beautiful. She's not my type, but she's beautiful. I mean, I can understand why the world loves this woman, but, pop music wasn't their type. They could have done it. I don't think they would. So anyway, thank you, everyone. It's if something breaks today, we'll be on our sister station, which is Rock History Music. We just got our 100,000 subscriber award for that channel. It means a lot to us. So anyway, thanks, folks. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description. Love you guys. Take care of yourself.